Hello and thanks for staying with us. This is Political Platform on Raypower FM. My name is Amici Anopu. It's February 13th. It's a Friday. Tomorrow is February 14th. The day needs no introduction. Plans are being made. Some of them funny plans. As we make those plans, think of indeed the message from National Agency for Control of AIDS. There's that tendency for high risk behavior. And as you do that, know that HIV rates, prevalence rates is still high, especially in major urban centers. So take responsibility and celebrate in the most responsible way. Talking of responsibility or irresponsibility, in fact, I prefer responsibility because of what is happening in our financial situation. Now, do you know how government operates, even in the private sector, how businesses operate? If a publicly quoted company, even if you're not, for purposes of meeting financial standards and processes and procedure, and once you write your end of year financial report, you give it to auditors to go through to ensure that you stipulated rules, processes, and codes were adhered to in terms of your financial transactions. For government, you have the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. This office audits the accounts of MDS, ministries, departments, and agencies. Unfortunately, though it has the power to audit, it lacks the power to mete out sanctions. And so it becomes like a dog that is toothless, that can bark without biting. Now, what happens when they see some infractions and raise queries? Do you know some MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies will not care to respond to those queries? They will just ignore them. They will just say, leave them. They play. Leave them there. And nothing happens. Where they have raised issues of non-accountability, financial violations, and nothing happens, and the country moves ahead. Now, what the Auditor General do is that at the end of the day, when he carries out this report, especially even when people don't respond to queries, they shift this report to the Public Accounts Committee in the National Assembly. And by law, Public Account Committee are chaired by committees on both chambers are chaired by opposition members as a way of enthroning probity. So that committee is recommending that about 21 federal government agencies be denied budgetary allocations for 2026, as the National Assembly indeed considers the 2026 budget estimates. The plea of this committee is that these agencies, 21 of them who have refused to answer to queries raised by the Auditor General, should not be given budget so that they can now know how they will operate. Now, they said that they have reviewed the performance of the report sent in by the Auditor General of the Federation, that these MDAs declined invitations and failed to submit critical financial records, which would have helped to address audit observations relating to alleged non-compliance with the financial regulations, violations of due process, and serious weaknesses in the internal control system. Now, what are these MDAs? We have to name them because it's a hall of shame. If the law does not empower anybody to punish them, if the National Assembly, the EFCC and ICPC refuses to take action, the president refuses to take action, all the citizens and civil society needs to do is to name and shame. The agencies are the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, Federal Housing Authority, Standard Organization of Nigeria, National Insurance Commission, National Business and Technical Examination Board, Corporate Affairs Commission, Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, Federal Embassy Geshua, Federal Embassy Ede, Federal Embassy of Federal Medical Center Owerri, Federal Medical Center Makurdi, Federal Medical Center Bida, Federal Medical Center Birnin Kebbi, Federal Medical Center Katsina, Federal Government College Kwale, Federal Government Boys College Gariki Abuja, Federal Government College Ugochi Abuja, Federal College of Land Resources Technology Owerri, Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria, FCT Secondary Education Board. Adebayo Boduri is there. Tell also here, gentlemen. Welcome to our Nigeria, where anything is possible.
Thank you, Amishi. Good morning to everyone in the studio, and good morning to our listeners out there, wherever you are listening to us in any part of the world, and to our YouTube viewers. 50 years ago, noted for probity, accountability, and promptness in punishing wrongdoers was murdered. It was our head of state, General Murtala Mohammed. And yesterday there was a conference in Abuja on looking at his contributions, and there was disagreement whether youth should be encouraged to be in position of authority or whether it should be the elderly people that should continue to rule us. For me, I think the issue of age is unnecessary. What matters most is, do we have leaders? Do we have leaders, whether old or young, who are prepared to ensure that we do not engage in lamentation every day? Here is a situation where government agencies the head of those agencies turn into a pepper soup joint where anything happens. And if you go to a pepper soup joint, sometimes there's sanity, sometimes there's insanity.
There's sanity till people drink beyond their limits.
And that's exactly what is happening to some of those agencies. So it's a pander to insanity. It's a pander to what is not good. And it's so sad that this thing is being condoned. Who are those being sanctioned? We have 3 strong agencies of government. We have the FCC, we have the ICPC, we have the Code of Conduct Bureau. 3 strong agencies that has power to punish those who are involved in these infractions. The few one we have is the celebrated cases of politicians. What are those head of institutions? What are the civil servants working in those institutions who are also involved in malfeasance? These are issues that we continue to deal with as a nation. And so when it's not just a case of budget denial, for me, those agencies need to function. So the issue is not budget denial. The issue is punishing those who are involved in financial malfeasance in those organizations.
Because once you deny these agencies budget, the whole nation suffers. For instance, Standards Organization of Nigeria. Yes. If you don't give them budget, they can't regulate standards. They cannot. Goods produced there.
It's those who are there, who are involved in financial malfeasance, that should be fished out, that should be punished. So it's not just a case of, because when you say budget denial, it's like scratching the problem on the surface. You are not dealing with it deeply.
You're running after the symptom rather than the disease.
At the end of the day, those who are involved in it will go away. And that is why there were cases of civil servants, of the status of the stand director who owns estates in Abuja. Where did they get the money? Where? So these are issues that I think we cannot continue to deal with as it denied, and they will still remain there. That means the remaining money there will also go the way of the pipe and others, and then it will not serve the purpose. So what we need is not just to name and shame, it's to punish those who are involved.
Then is this not a reign of impunity? I mean, you violate financial procedures and nobody comes after you. I ask, when the Auditor General submits the report to the National Assembly, once the National Assembly are done with it through the Public Accounts Committee and they lay it before the entire House or Senate and approve, should they not submit it to ICPC, FCC? Should they not submit it to the presidency? It's job done. They have done your forensic examination. By the time the files are getting to ICPC and EFCC, all you need to do is to give it to a team to prosecute and the job will be done.
Amachi, good morning to you. Good morning, listener. I don't know which of the audit reports of which year you are talking about. Because by the time those audit reports come, most of those people you are saying are responsible would have retired or been redeployed to other agencies or other MDAs. Maybe a few of them, if we are lucky, are still in those particular MDAs as it were. So, and budget denial, is it in the law? Is it part of the laws? So you can't go and look for those are more of extrajudicial or extra legislative prescriptions they are looking for. If we need to, then it should be properly specified in the law, as it were. We have a situation where, even in Nigeria, you have people who get judgment against the government, and all of that. They are not paid. And some person at some point will say, okay, can we make this specific? Maybe the police officers who were responsible, or the law enforcement agency who were responsible, should be the ones directly. But it's what it is. So we are yet to fine tune and get the exact solution to that. That is one.
There are accounting heads for these institutions. They should be held to account.
Those accounting heads, are the permanent secretaries or the directors in those agencies.
Yeah, but in the case of a ministry, the permanent secretary in office during that period. In case of an agency, the CEO or DG in office during that period.
No, not CEO. It's the director. It's the civil servants that are the accounting officers. No, it's not the political heads.
No, I mean for an agency, it's the director general that is the accounting head.
It should be the director of accounts and finance.
No, he reports to the chief as the DG.
The permanent secretary doesn't report to the minister.
Not for an agency, I mean.
Yes. I'm not sure the political heads are the accounting officers.
No, they are. They are.
Maybe we need to check.
No, they are.
Clearly. But there are a lot of issues in all of this that we need to fix. I'm asking of which audit here you are talking about. The second issue is, what are you even auditing, or what figures are you looking at when budgets have not been released to budget allocations have not been released, to most of the MDAs. We are reading reports that Federal Minister of Finance, for instance, out of the 300-something billion that was supposed to be allocated to them, only 36 million
for health.
For health,
the Minister of Health,
the whole 2025.
They were allocated over 300 billion in the budget. They were fortunate to get
36, barely 10.
Not 36 billion.
Million. So it's as bad as so. What at the end of which we're auditing 2025 now? What specifically will you be auditing? What questions will you necessarily be asking? So there are a lot of issues that I think we need to address. Public service reform, civil service reform, that we need to tidy up. All of these. But at the end of the day, you leave them to the civil servants to be the ones to bring the reforms. I think we have a bureau for public sector reforms.
Public service reforms.
What are we seeing? What results are we getting? We need to be more, and like most of us are of opinion. If we fix the public service, if we fix the civil service in Nigeria, believe me, 70 to 80% of these problems we're talking about, budget, we're talking about audit, we're talking about financial expenditure, would have been solved.
Public service is the one that discharges public servants, or they are the ones that discharge public service. We're talking about the year. These are queries contained in the Auditor General's Federation's annual report for 2020, 2021, and 2022. Now, why this delay, Shola Jasimi, is that the MDAs deliberately stop or delay the process of responding to audit queries. So you see Office of the Auditor General, they are not even done with the audit report for 2020. And from my own observations, which I raised in some of my books, government deliberately underfunds these agencies so that they will not work optimally. The Office of the Auditor General is completely underfunded. Sometimes, most times, they don't even constitute the entire management body. Same thing with Fiscal Responsibility Commission. All those agencies that have financial oversight about how public funds are spent, they deliberately deny them of funds. They cripple them. EFCC chairman the other day was shouting, I don't have money to prosecute my work. So these are part of the gimmick that government itself do to undermine these institutions.
In as much as we are blaming even heads of these agencies, the civil servants and all of that, I will put the ball squarely on the president's table.
I agree with you.
I cannot be president of Nigeria, and in my office, I will not have a dashboard that I will be seeing how much is coming in every minute, that I will be seeing how much is being released every minute. there's no way I would be president and not request for those reports from the accountant general. You look at the guy who was messing up himself yesterday at the National Assembly, saying it's what we get, he's talking about envelope and all those. The accountant general of the Federation, when they were asking him, and they said they were going to executive session again with him to explain why releases are not. The president should know what is coming in, what is going on.
One of our listeners just sent a note. Godik is saying, we are dealing with conspiracy of silence among what he called robbers in the corridors of power. And you can't better agree. They are all silent. Do you want to tell me that the presidency is not aware of this report that I've seen? Under Buhari administration, the National Assembly saw this loophole, Sholaja Simi. They said the Auditor General cannot buy, can only back. So they amended the law to give it powers to sanction erring MDAs. Buhari refused to sign it.
It's an ironic one. When you talk about the federal bureaucracy and all the dynamics around it, it can be a case of the more you look, the less you see. And I'm saying this because I'm a child of someone whose parents spent their entire life in the federal bureaucracy. They've both gone now. Like I often humbly say, my dad was a pastor, my mom was a director. I know some of the things they talk about at home and talk about the challenges the federal bureaucracy faces, insincerity of political leadership, and the fact that in the system, there are those who strongly believe that things should not work, that things may not work because of people believe that's where they need to make a claim. You talk about the office of the Accountant General for the Federation. Is that not the same office where one person is accused of taking 162 billion naira?
Former accountant.
Yes.
And up to today, I think they went into plea bargain, and we have not heard anything about it.
Even the man who succeeded him as acting, they immediately said, get out of that seat. You took another 3 billion. The other man that came after that one, they accused him of taking 1.6 billion at the level of directors, when they were directors before they stepped in as acting. So you can see that there's financial malfeasance of the highest level. And it can only be condoned if the political leadership is in bed with the top bureaucrats.
If they read the body language of the political leadership, if the body language says otherwise, who born you to help yourself to public funds?
So people come into public office. I know a couple of civil servants, and the system is not so good. There are many civil servants who are giving their best. They just want a fair deal.
Majority. So
yes, and they want a fair deal. A scenario where you're a civil servant, you get to the level of assistant director, you are still hopping bus from Kuje to
directors in federal public service.
Things are tough.
Shola, many of them are living in Niger State, commuting. Many of them are living in Nasarawa. So we set them up to fail because you can't take care of them when they retire. They want to take care of themselves.
Because if a director is earning 542,000 naira monthly, and somebody who left university 2 years ago, did NYSC, gets into a blue chip, so to say, grade A agency,
yes,
is taking the same 400, 500,000.
Some of them take more.
That's what I'm saying. So you can see the inequilibrium. So someone who is a civil servant gets into directorate cadre, AD, DD, or
after like 30 years.
Maybe from 28 years.
Yeah, like 25 years. Yeah.
So they watch and say, look at me and this way. So when those who don't fear God, so to say, because we say nobody fears God again, once they get into that area and there's opportunity to take what they think is theirs, they go for it.
It takes only the Holy Spirit to prevent anybody in that situation not to help themselves. It's only by the power of the Holy Spirit.
So I want to go back to the issue we spoke about just quickly on public servants who are in office doing certain things and they run off, and we can pinpoint them. We are here. We know about the P&D, or what's that case called?
PI&ID.
That company where they signed some agreements and were supposed to do some gas things. Mrs. Tiger, the woman who had retired 7 years earlier, she was picked now. They took her to court now. So let's not give a cover. Like as if once you are in office and things happen, nobody can fish you. You can be fished out as a public servant if your hands are not clean.
Not tenured.
Sorry?
Criminal cases.
Yes, they are not started bad.
So after 50 years,
yeah, so
the law can still catch up.
So that's what we need to promote. That whatever even if Accountant General and account questions, and if your questions, your answers are not satisfactory, they take you to court. It's simple.
You know, in
Okay.
countries that have succeeded in fighting corruption, that most Nigerians would love to give examples of China and all of that, you prevent corruption. If you're unable to prevent corruption, you allow it to happen, and then you start chasing after those people, you will not get result. You will not get the kind of
China will not chase you to jail and where you serve 3 years.
3 years,
or
or do 5 years or 6 years.
Because I'm just reading this morning that former Minister of Aviation, the lady from my state, Anambra,
Stella
Selodua, accused of helping herself to about over 6 billion, has opted for plea bargain. The former accountant general that was accused of pocketing over 100 billion is doing plea bargain. So in Nigeria, you do plea bargain. In China, they take you to the goodie
and
they execute you.
It's right there when you are in office. They are
Yes,
monitoring
they
and
execute
once you dictate anything, you are taking out. I think my challenge with EFCC and what's the other one, ICPC, code of conduct, they will wait until those people have gone, they will start coming, oh, he's arriving from the airport, they will go and start seizing password and what. You are wasting time. Get the people while they are there. Yes, if governors have immunity and all of that, one of the people around there, or immediately he leaves.
Okay, let's hear from you. Rena is here. Let's get your comment on the issue before we begin to. Okay, let's quickly have the mails and see how Nigeria. Some of them were even raised in our mail, so let's have the mail.
All right then. I am Onoshe Rena Obozige. Welcome to the mail segment.
And I am Arita Ojiti.
From Ogun State is a mail from Anufio Nkuntia who says he's writing on electronic transmission of election results. It says, as the Senate continues harmonization of the clause which allows both manual collation of election results and electronic transmission, I urge the Senate to look beyond today and their personal interest to give the people their popular demand, which is mandatory electronic transmission of all election results from the polling unit, only in line with the House of Representatives version. He says, I don't know why the APC Tinubu, which has the majority of governors, senators, and House of Reps members, is still afraid of electronic transmission of election results. The president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, must stop allowing himself to be used by the selfish and unproductive and the presidency to deprive the people of what they want for INEC for the 2027 election. Any attempt to deprive the masses of what we want may trigger revolution now. Nepal and Kenya experiences. Ultimately, I think it is high time we pushed for unicameral legislation in Nigeria. Scrap the Senate while we maintain only the House of Representatives, because from all indications, it appears the House of Representatives is the true representation of the people. Former governors should be retired to their villages and not to the Senate. Time to act is now.
And in the Senate, there are up to one newspaper did a count about 14 former governors. So if you ask Nigerians now, between the Senate and the House of Reps, which one should we scrap? What do you think will be the answer?
Well, because it's all to cut costs, we may want to retain Senate or
She wants
She wants to marry senator.
Senator's wife. She has the capacity to be a senator herself. Like I tell you, even if we scrap Senate and it's only the House of Reps,
Yes.
that is where you see the former governors going.
exactly.
They'll go there.
They'll go there.
The House of Reps will become the Senate.
Okay. All right. A man look at the composition of the 12-man Electoral Act Harmonization Committee will convince one of the likely parochial agenda that will be taken to the harmonization committee. Senator Onyebon, who sees membership of the ruling party as a big achievement, can shut anybody down, made the list. Who can shut anybody down, made the list? Senator Abumoro, who is in quote a member of the APDC, is representing the minority caucus. Senator Mungunu, who is against electronic transmission of results, is also a member. But Senator Einaya Abaride and Ali Udume, no Natasha or Kingibe, that softly understood what the people want, are not members. The House of Representatives that seem to be more people-oriented should listen to the cry of the masses and not give in cheaply to the wishes of the anti-people Senate of Akpabio. There's network almost everywhere in Nigeria, and the highest the National Assembly and INEC may do is to pass a resolution urging giant service providers to expand more to remote villages in a year's time. which is before the 2027 general election.
And then Henry Owonunu from Abuja says, I'm so confused as I write. Few days ago, it was reported that approximately 0.0174% of the capital budget of the Federal Ministry of Health was released in 2025. Report from other MDAs corroborated that ear-tingling information. On the other hand, the Federal Ministry of Budget, National Planning and Finance is blaming the development on debt servicing, which is consuming about 95% of the nation's revenue. What then happens to development of critical sectors? What happens to the implementation of several agreements the federal government signed with organized labor groups like ASU, JOHESU, NAD, etc.? How will INEC's 873 billion naira 2026 budget be funded? This is a national emergency and should be treated as such. Let's stop pretending that the system is working. It's a bad day.
Now, Ugochukwu Godwin, writing from Lagos, says, for almost a year now, the naira has steadily appreciated against the dollar quietly, and it is not in the news, owing to less pressure on Forex and Dangote refinery. Few days ago, it was 1,350 naira against the dollar. Speculators told us it will be over 2,000 naira about a year ago. It is a welcome news that Dangote can now refine 650,000 barrels a day and plans to increase it to 1.4 million daily. Nigeria's socio-economic issues are like Lagos traffic. You don't know what caused it until you drive past the gridlock. Whatever Cardoso is doing should be sustained. We don't want to wake up and hear the dollar is now 2,000 naira. As such, would be catastrophic. Now there is healthy competition in the oil sector as PMS moved from 1,200 naira to 839 naira, and news of further reduction lingers. The government should quickly sell off the moribund refineries and stop the wastage. Other individuals can be encouraged to set up their refinery to boost productivity.
And we'll take a part of our last mail for Time Factor this morning, sent in from Lagos, Emmanuel Nkama. It says, please, I crave your indulgence to observe that the USA to deploy 200 military troops in Nigeria to train Nigerian military and perfect technical aids against terrorism is a welcome development and more than it meets the eye. He says he's asking USA under Pat Trump. He said it should also be magnanimous enough to assist Nigeria on these teething problems, especially as it affects ordinary Nigerians. He would like that Tinubu and the military do more to tackle this mirage of social malaise, especially the worsening rate of killings, rather than waiting for foreign aids alone. Nigeria shall be free again. Amen. Thank you, Emmanuel.
And indeed, that is all we can take from mails today. Keep sending your mails with your name and where you're writing from. Political platform at darkgroup.com.
Thank you so much for the mails. Now, we are just being told that just last December, the Senate passed again audit bill that seeks to empower the Office of the Auditor General to deal with those not complying with our financial reputation. So why is the president not taking action? If one of our listeners said it's a conspiracy of silence, if it's not, the president should act. Now, one of our writers talked about what happened to the Ministry of Health, and we raised it earlier. Over 300 billion capital votes allocation for 2025, only about 30 million released. And it cuts across all the MDA. So we lost 2025 budget. And I don't know whether we are in a financial crisis, as it were. The Nigerian Revenue Service, the customs, were telling us a few days ago that two of them overshot their revenue target, that they make more money than government asked them to. And here is the Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment telling us that we couldn't implement the last budget because that service was chopping 95% of our revenue. And so, who do we believe? It's just like when the president told us that indeed we have overshot our budget, and Minister of Finance Wale Edu was telling us we underperformed. Who do we believe?
It's an interesting one because it's like the more you look, the less you see. President needs to have a hands-on hold on it. They call him a financial wizard. That's what they called him when he was in Lagos. But it seems at the federal level, he's not getting a grip with all due respect to issues around financial. Some things flew in the air. We don't run with what flies in the air about what the Minister of Finance said and the implications of what he said, how it shook certain places. So sincerity of purpose
Okay.
must be in the minds and hearts of our political leaders.
I think for me, Manuel Kama's letter, welcome, but for me, I think we should be cautious on this arrival of troops from the US, the 200 military troops from the US. For me, the US is not like Nigeria that will go and help Liberia, that will go and help Sierra Leone,
And come back with
that will
nothing.
help
Benin Republic.
that will help the Republic, that will help Angola, and
Okay.
then we are not asking for anything. US will not send these troops to Nigeria without
Okay.
attaching strings to it. So we must be cautious, very, very cautious as a nation.
Let it not be a great gift.
If that is the solution to end the insecurity, I'm sure Nigerians will support it. I've always said, if these terrorists have not attacked your village, if they are not
So what
attacking anybody from your village,
Bodru is saying it's not that we shouldn't welcome them, but beyond the welcoming, let's know the wider implications.
yeah, that's what that's fine.
Sorry. Trump went said, look, we're going to help you, DRC and Rwanda, solve your problem. And he said openly, we will be the first to mine and get the things that are.
So straight up.
And the bill we're talking about yesterday about Composer and all that also involved a Chinese miners.
Yes.
So let's also understand. But clearly, whatever will be the solution to this, so we should
We
find a
must
path
pursue
to
it.
pursue it.
Well, the one quick one, last one from you.
Yes, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, and some of these other countries, even Ethiopia, even Egypt, are renegotiating their debt. If our debt servicing is high and all of that, can't we sit down and look at the debt and renegotiate?
These are local debts from treasury bills. They have own Nigerians. You must pay back.
It's not only treasury bills. It's not only
Many
treasury
of them
bills.
are
There are other components.
domestic debt.
There are other components of it that can't be
Okay.
negotiated, and we need to negotiate them
And we
so that
borrow
we can
more.
have a brief.
We borrow more this year. That's the implication.
No, they said they are taxing more. They are selling federal assets to fund.
Yes.
No, they have not been getting money from borrowers. So they are
They see
looking
you,
for
they will
sources.
sell you TV. Don't go near Suro, they will sell you to raise money. Well, Nigerians are being killed in the Ukraine-Russia war. So says Ukraine. Russia here denies. Ukraine has been publishing names, details of Nigerians who were recruited in Nigeria with promises, we were told, to be given security contracts in Russia. And when they get there, many of them were not even trained. They just push them into the battlefront. Sometimes they promise them, they pay them, is it 3.2 million per, or is it 600,000? It's somewhere here, So I don't know what the Nigerian government can do.
Facing the same situation.
So it's not our problem.
The Russian ambassador in Nigeria 2-3 days ago denied that no Nigerian is being recruited.
Yes.
So we need the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
That's the federal government.
Yeah,
to
to be
speak.
able to not just to speak, to look at the issues
Okay.
and engage properly.
3.6 million naira per month. I know many Nigerians out there that will say, let's go, even if they kill us. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good time and happy Valentine, but be responsible in celebration.